Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session. It's a session on the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, and we're also going to talk a little bit about CFP certification. And thank you everybody for joining the session. I would like to introduce my fellow panel members. Perhaps I should start with myself. So my name is Gerrie van der Merwe. I'm the head of Department of Financial Planning at Milpark Education. Then we've got Noel de Kock here. Noel is a certified financial planner practitioner. He's a Milpark alumni, so we're very proud of him. And last year in the Financial Planner of the Year competition, he made top 3. Noel, do you want to just say hello and just give a quick hi to everybody out there?
Yeah, thanks, Ferry. No, honored to be here. Glad that I can give back as an alumni as well. Sending lots of love from a rain-locked Overberg at the moment. Lack of cold, but excited to be here. Thanks, Ferry.
Thank you. Then we also have guests from the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa here, and we're very honored to have them. Nikki McDonald is here. She's the head of certification. That's right. So if for those of you who want to become certified financial planners, Nikki's a very important person. So stay in our good books. Nikki, do you just want to say hello to everybody and maybe a hi from the FBI?
Thank you, Harry, making people scared of me even before they get to meet me. So yes, I am Nikki McDonald. I am the head of certification and standards at the Financial Planning Institute. And the reason why Harry said you need to get to know me well is because the professional competency examinations is my responsibility. And I have just told them that we have been running examinations today and tomorrow. So yes, it is part of what we do, and I look forward to seeing everybody there in the shorter, hopefully, than longer term. Thank you, Harry.
Thanks, Nikki. And Nikki's, thank you for joining the session. There's some interesting developments, certification space, and he was involved with its development. So she's got some insights to share a little bit later. She may, after the introductions, Nikki's going to drop off a little bit. She's around, and she's going to be, probably help us with answering some questions. And then we've also got Patrick Donation, also from the Financial Planning Institute. Patrick is the Corporate Relations Manager of the FBI. Patrick, it's really nice to have you, and Patrick's going to kind of answer some questions from the FBI's perspective. Do you just want to also say hello to everybody in the session, Patrick?
Yes, Harry. Good afternoon, everyone. So glad and so delighted to be here. And like Nikki said, before you get to Nikki, you first have to get to me. And your first contact with the FBI will be me if you do apply for professional membership of the FBI. And I'm just happy to be here and to introduce the FBI and what the FBI is all about and answer any questions you may have around membership of the FBI.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Patrick. And then also in the session today, but just in the chat function, is the program manager at Milpark for the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, Wadia Dramat. So Wadia, while we're busy with the session, if you've got any questions around any aspect of the administration or applying for admission into the postgraduate diploma or how our courses work, please feel free to type something into the chat function. It's the only way that we can communicate in the session. So please keep the questions coming. If you've got questions for the Financial Planning Institute, please post it in there. Nikki or Patrick will respond to your questions, and we will try and keep up with what's happening. And thank you. No Luvo. It's very nice to have you. It's good to see you in the session. And but if you see a response from Wadia, she's just know that she represents Milpark in that space. Wadia told me an astonishing thing earlier this week. I think she's been with Milpark for 17 years, and I don't know what I would do without Wadia. She actually runs the qualification. I just work for Wadia. on this side. Just great to have you in the session as well. All right, so yeah, then we can start. We could start off. So today's session is just the idea of today's session is not to be too technical or to bombard you with a lot of information. I think the idea is to give you some insights into how the whole what it's like to study for or to qualify for CFP certification. By the way, Andy, you can move Nikki to the sidelines for now. And Noel's going to give us some insights there just from what it's like in practice. Then we're also going to get the FPI's perspective on how they see the, how the postgraduate diploma and the CFP certification goes together. And I will probably provide some insight into, just what it's like to study at Milpark and what the things are that we do. So I want to first start off with Noel, and I think first off, maybe you could just tell everybody why you wanted to become a financial planner, and why this career, why not something else?
It's probably the strangest answer, Kerry. I was the most unknowingly person to join the profession. I worked in financial immigration, so I did the opposite. I got people out of their retirement stuff to move it offshore. So I think the profession chose me. I didn't choose it. And it was at my last job. There was a lot of, I think, tax and trust questions that we were getting from these expats, and I had no clue. And I spoke to our CFO at the time, and I said, "Well, let me go do a tax certificate." And he said, it's a certificate, it's expensive as well. Why didn't you do your CFP? It's a little bit more expensive, maybe, but it's a little bit more, it encompasses everything. And I actually had no idea what it was. So I chose Milpark, and as soon as I got through it, I realized, well, I might actually be pretty good at this thing. Let me pursue it as a career. And so I'm the worst person to ask because, like I said, I didn't choose it. I think it chose me, to be honest.
And Noel, what do you enjoy about your career, like your day-to-day? What's the anchors that pulled you into financial planning, besides being good at it? I mean, what do you like about what you do every day?
So I might maybe I misspoke about being good at it. I guess you have to be good at it to be at this level. But so I'm actually quite an introvert. People don't know that about me. But I'm a very strange introvert that actually likes people. So I love and care for people deeply. And I think the one thing that I love about what I do is that I get to spend time with people, but I get to actually change their lives. So the everyday interaction with people is to know them more deeply, to help them understand themselves and their situation, their hopes and dreams more deeply, and then to actually help them realize those things. So I get to do that. I get to do that as a career. It's amazing. So that's the part that I love about it.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. I think a career as a financial planner, when you start off, you think it's all about the technical knowledge. And the technical knowledge, what you realize the more you work in the industry is that it's just a foundation. It's actually a people industry. It's about dealing with people and helping with people. And I think that's where a lot of the satisfaction comes from. No, so tell us, so you basically, your boss actually said, listen, rather do the PG dip. Was it successful? Did it help you in assisting your clients or not? What was the effect on your day-to-day work situation?
Well, the outcome was that I left, and the outcome was that I left because I realized that what I was doing actually wasn't really helping the people that I wanted to. It was essentially just what would the right word be? It wasn't long-lasting relationships I was building. It was essentially I can't think of the word now. So essentially I left and I'm like, well, I'm going to become a financial planner now. and it was actually relatively easy to come over. What I think helped immensely from the PG dip, specifically with Milpark, was that it gave me such a view of what excellence is, about how things should be done, if you want to call it that, and not just from a technical point of view. I mean, when I did the board exam, there was a massive focus on the right advice and not necessarily like technical knowledge. And I think that's the only reason I might have passed. It was about understanding even the person who was in the case study, to go, well, think a little bit deeper about who they are as a person and give the right advice. So coming into the industry, so it was relatively easy because I already had what I would say would be the highest view of how it should be done, and I just did that. So I think I'm incredibly lucky to have had that head start.
Yeah, I think it was. I must say, I'm also a certified financial planner practitioner, and when I passed that case study module as well, I was also. I mean, I felt like jumping through the roof. I also don't know how I made it, and I also think it's the advice part that got me through, probably not the technical side. I want to bring Patrick in here. So Patrick's some of the people in the session today would have had long careers in financial planning. You know, they've been advisors for years, and they may not be aware of this. They could register as members of the Financial Planning Institute, as a registered financial practitioner or a financial services advisor professional. Why do you think why would somebody want to go further and like obtain the postgraduate diploma of financial planning and go for the certified financial planner accreditation?
Yeah, Harry. If you look at the CFP designation, first and foremost, it is a global designation. That means it is recognized in over 26 countries, and it is the pinnacle. Or you can't get a higher designation in the industry. This is the top designation within the industry, and that's what makes it so attractive to individuals, and especially individuals that wants to operate on a different level or on the top of the game. Especially if you're young and you got ambitions and stuff like that, then the CFP designation is most probably what I would recommend you attain when you are in the industry. You touch on the other designations as well, the FSA designation and the RFP designations. Those are equally important designations, especially if you're in the advice space, because it's more attuned to the advisory market. But the requirements are obviously different from that of being a CFP. But if you want to be a certified, you want to go into the financial planning space, and there's where the CFP designation is most appropriate for you.
I think it's a good point. I think the other thing about the other designations is you already belong to the Financial Planning Institute, which, just in my experience, has been just like a. You know, I remember when I first qualified, just to be a member already means a lot. You know, you're also exposed to that professionalism, developments in the industry, a lot of advantages to that. But I think the Certified Financial Planner designation says something about you as a person. So just looking at it from a perspective of your career development, I think it means a lot. I see we've got a question in the chat about, is it beneficial for someone in the legal field? And I don't know, Celestine, exactly what if you work for like in the insurance industry or one of the related industries, you're kind of legal advisor. Absolutely. I mean, it's as if it opens doors for you. People like, wow, you know, you must have like a in-depth insight into the financial planning industry, and just like I think it really does. It does mean quite something to you. Also, if you look at how few certified financial planners there actually are in the country. I don't know, Patrick, if you last time I heard, I think it's 2,500 or 2,600 CFP practitioners in the country. Do you know what the updated stats are?
Yeah, we close to 4,900 roughly there, give or take, close to 5,000 CFP professionals. But when you look at the
Yes.
makeup
Thank you.
of the industry, that is now reps that are registered with the Financial Services Conduct Authority, the FSCA. You're looking at over 120,000 reps that is now from in different categories that are registered with the FSCA. Now compare that with plus minus 5,000 rand of CFP professionals within South Africa. There you already see the competitive advantage, compared to 5,000
Yeah.
and compared to 120,000. So attaining the CFP mark already gives you a competitive advantage in terms of your career, in terms of your knowledge. And I think you mentioned about a lot of people entering from the legal fraternity, entering or trying to attain the CFP designation. I'll tell you why they do that. They're dealing with people's wills in most cases, and having that knowledge when it comes in terms of financial planning. A lot of legal minds or legal people come to FBI and attain the CFP designation because they realize they can, apart not only dealing with one aspect of a person's, let's say the will, winding up the will, they also gain the knowledge of estate planning, and offering a holistic sort of service to an individual instead of just only focusing on one aspect. But what you also have to bear in mind when you look at the post financial planning, everything is rooted in law. Everything that you do, there is a law behind it. So it just makes sense that you have that legal background and you combine it with financial planning to have a better understanding how to service your clients.
Agreed. Noel, what was your experience? I mean, going in from like actually a different industry, getting the designation, and then like walking into the industry. Did you find that the CFP accreditation opened up some doors for you? And so, how did people react when you already completed your postgraduate diploma?
I think when I first sent my CV in, I don't think the manager realized his luck. Seeing my CV, and then I've got a CFP. I think he realized maybe he have hit the gold mine there. What was incredible was that I could literally sit in front of any client right from the word go, and I could help them with anything. So where I think a lot of people come into the industry or the profession with maybe a very narrow skill set, so they might only know about tax or estate planning. The CFP allowed me to help with anything. So I could literally sit in front of anyone and help them with literally almost anything.
I think that's an excellent point. We've got people in like different aspects of the industry. You get people who want to do the postgraduate diploma sit in EB. They sit in employee benefits. They've been working for retirement funds for many, many years. I've spoken to guys, they sit with 10 or more years experience in that field of the industry, and they know it very well, but they kind of want to develop a little further and open up like more opportunities. They've got the strong base, but it's not a holistic base. And doing like a postgraduate diploma opens up more opportunities. You already know people in industry. You can start operating in a wider space than just the field that you're in. So yeah, I think that's a very good point. There's probably some of them sitting in the session wondering if they should do this or not. Yeah, I do think it does open some really nice opportunities for you. Patrick, going back to you, I wanted to ask you why do the FPI, how do they see, why don't you just look at somebody's experience before you award CFP accreditation? Why are you looking for a qualification as well? What role does that play in the development of before you can say, look, we trust this guy, or we feel that he's attained that level, that we can register him as one of our members and as a CFP practitioner?
Yeah, no, look, if you look at how the financial planning, the industry has actually evolved over the years. I think a good couple of years ago, Standard 8 was enough, or you just have some form of secondary qualification, and there you go, and you just go and sell policies to people. Okay, that has changed dramatically if you look at the progression of the industry, where certain laws has been enacted, like TCF, treating customers fairly, and phased, and all those things that has literally shaped the industry to what it is currently today. Why it happened is because we have to understand that we deal with people's money, we deal with people's future, and just a minimum knowledge just to assist someone is just not good enough. We've seen what happened with people with the different schemes and things like that happened. With Enron is an example, where people lost their entire savings. Again, it points down to first and foremost the ethical part of it, but it also a point on the knowledge part of it. Do you have enough knowledge to assist somebody to deal with their most important life savings, their assets, etc.? It's like similar saying, okay, I need a brain surgery. I'm now going to a general practitioner. It doesn't make sense. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that's what the need is for specialized services within the industry. People having the appropriate qualifications. With qualifications comes the skills as well. So it is not only necessary to have the experience, but you need to have the technical knowledge as well to apply that experience and to make it work for the client. And that's why the FBI is so passionate about, because I mean, if you look at any other industry, like the accounting profession, you need to go through certain steps before you can call yourself a chartered accountant. In the health and dental, in the medical industry as well, you have to go through those similar steps. You have to obtain the qualification, you have to obtain the knowledge. There's also exams and things like that you have to write in order for you to call yourself a professional. But what does a professional means? It means somebody that has the necessary skills, knowledge, the abilities. And our industry is no different. You need to have that as well, because like I said, you can wreak complete havoc with people's life savings if you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the skill, and you don't have the ability to assist them. Go on other days where people are just being sold let's say a life policy without understanding what is the need that sits behind dispensing that product. And from the FBI side, that's why we have the standards that we've brought in. And what are those standards? It is four that our professional members have to comply with. One is, as I said, the experience component. You need to have a certain minimum experience for a specific designation. Also, a certain level of qualification for the different various of designations that we have. But I'll touch on that a little bit later. And then there's also the most important thing, a code of ethics. No professional outfit can call themselves professional if there isn't a code of ethics that they govern themselves by, that they have to conduct themselves by. So the code of ethics is one of the most important things when it comes to membership. It literally just gives you the guidelines in terms of how you should conduct yourself when it comes to clients. For argument's sake, putting the needs of the clients above your own interest, making sure there aren't conflict of interest when you deal with clients. And then lastly is that you have to obviously write the exam in order, to meet all four required. We call it the four E's within FBI: the experience, the education, the ethical thing, and then obviously the examination is the last step in those four requirements.
I think that code of ethics is very important because it's part of what a certified financial planner accreditation stands for. It also conveys to clients that you're adhering to an ethical code. And I think it's worthwhile pointing out that if a client, if a certified financial planner gives advice to a client and the client feels that he's behaved unethically, he can report him to the Financial Planning Institute, and you could lose your membership, which is a big deal. I mean, nobody wants to do that. So, no, you want to talk to us about? Oh, sorry. Yes, go for it, Patrick.
Yeah, I just want to say a little bit on the ethical part, because it is a big deal. It really is a big deal. because if you look at the ombud cases where people have taken advisors to the ombudsman, most of you can clearly see there is a component there. It is the ethical conduct of the advisor. Back in the days, there was no such a thing as that. People were just doing whatever they have to. There was not even an ombudsman where you can go and arbitrate your case. But if you're a member of the FBI, your client has got recourse. They can report you with the FBI because you're a member. And then our disciplinary processes kicks in place because we regard our members as the standard within the industry, conveying we expect a certain conduct from them. And that's why ethics is so important. You can go to SAICA. They also have a code of ethics. Every professional body have a code of ethics whereby it holds its members accountable.
Okay. Now, I want to go back to Noel and just talk about, when you're doing a postgraduate diploma, you're gaining a lot of technical knowledge. And probably there's some of the students sitting there or prospective students sitting there and saying, well, what does this help you in practice? How do you think the knowledge that you gained or skills that you gained during that study process, does it translate to practice, or is it actually just something that you get behind you and then you get on with the business of working with clients and making money?
I almost always like to use the analogy of a doctor, and Patrick mentioned that too, that I think the better you are as a doctor, the better you can diagnose an illness, an illness or an ailment or something like that. The faster you can get there too. So I think my skill set, the skill set to me really is being able to sit with a client. I remember being called in to help a junior associate I think it was a trust question that he needed help with, and we sat there for an hour and a half, and it was almost like the board exam, and we walked out of there, and he's like, "Yo, dude, you actually know your stuff." I'm like, "Well, it's actually my profession to know that stuff," and so to me, it's really about being able to diagnose. So to be able to, if you don't know the questions to ask, you're not going to be able to get to the diagnosis. And I think the skill set is really being able to know what questions to ask. So you know how to get to the answer.
I just remember from when I was a practicing financial planner, just the way the postgraduate diploma equips you, it doesn't really, we tell our students all the time that they've got to stay up to date with the knowledge because it changes all the time. So it's not just about memorizing this is not what this qualification is about. You're not just going to learn a bunch of stuff and that's the end of it. It's actually about finding knowledge. And you'll see, if you study through Moorpark, you'll see, I'm not going to give you all the content on the course page. I give you guidance and a direction. But it actually teaches you to go and source the information and also to interpret it. The legislation changes all the time. We've got new things, and it equips you to actually deal that, gives you the basis to analyze new legislation, new tax regulations, and to apply that to your client's situation. So I think it's valuable, and it's teaching you how to think and learn and adapt to what comes. It's not like a traditional school environment, the ones that I went to when I still went to school. No, don't you want to talk to us about yes, do you want to add something?
No, I wanted to say that what the biggest lesson I learned is that I know what I don't know. And that's the biggest difference between most guys, that they think they know something, like actually don't. So if you're sitting with someone, you go, you know what, I actually don't know that, but I'm pretty sure I know how to find the answer. Yeah.
That is so important. We're actually bringing that into some of our content to say, you got to know up to what point you can advise and at what point you must get even like further expert knowledge. Because the truth is, so a postgraduate diploma does give you if you walk into a normal advisory practice or you work for insurer, it does give you a higher level of knowledge. But there's a point at which you say, listen, this is out of my hands. This is actually something that I don't know how to handle. Particularly some of the fiduciary areas gets to a point where you're like, listen, we need an expert on this. The field is so wide. No one person can cover everything. And that's a very important point.
Spot on.
Now, I also want you to talk about, you said you had an interesting story about your study experience, and maybe just to give some students some encouragement. What was your studies like at Milpark? Just the whole, your personal situation around, going through your studies and starting off with the degree.
So I made a promise to myself when I finished my degree that I would do the entire opposite and not try and cram everything in one go. And I kept that promise to myself. So when I started, I had a 1.5-year-old, a 2-month-old, and I was working a full 8 to 5. It was intense. But the conversation I had with my wife at the time was, listen, I'm not going to get any older. The longer we drag this thing out, the worse it's actually going to be. So let's just nip it in the bud. And just back then, we could do it in a year through Milpark. I understand it's changed a bit. But we just said, let's just suffer for a year and get it done. So the rule was 2 to 3 hours a day, and a little bit more than that over the weekends. And the job that I was in was quite demanding, but I got through. I mentioned, I think yesterday, that I'm so enamored by Milpark because I had zero tax knowledge, and within a week, I mean, that week was rough. I think I was up till 3 a.m. for most mornings, but I was able to write a tax test within a week and pass, and then pass the exam within another 10 weeks. So it's just the consistency is key, though. So that's the biggest thing that I applied. That was consistency.
So I think it's worthwhile just talking about the Milpark structure, because one of the things that we try and focus on at Milpark is to make it easy for somebody who works and studies at the same time, because most of our students are in that category, where they've got full-time jobs, got these things, and how do they make it work? And so what we've done, the first thing we did in our design of our postgraduate diploma is to start with an induction course. And again, if we think about the guys who are in EB or in a certain space, maybe they're just in investments or they just do life insurance or medical schemes, is we start off with a course that refreshes your tax knowledge, because if you don't work with that, I mean, after 2 years, you're definitely there's some catch up that you need to do. And then it refreshes your time value of money calculations, because it's a key part of being able to do analyses. And we refresh your product knowledge. So just and I actually studied through another institute, but I remember starting off and not knowing what some of the product names was. I remember reading about an endowment and thinking, what the heck is this? And having to read up and phone friends, phone a brokers, how does this work? Because I don't understand what it refers to. And we find that helps students a lot. And the other thing that we did is we only allow you to do one module at a time. Our structure is broken up into 9 to 10 week modules, where you just focus on one aspect of the content. And you've got weekly assessments for the first, until the last 2 weeks, you've got a weekly assessment. So you've got to really get into that. But we think it's a strategy that works for somebody that's employed full-time. Instead of spreading it out across a year or 6 months, and kind of working a little bit and then concentrating on something else, you have to really get into it and get in there and get into depth, dive into the content, and then write your exam and get it over with. And that's also why our qualification takes a little bit longer than a year now. We've got 5 cycles a year. I think we first squeezed it in, but we found it was not ideal. We wanted students to just spend a little bit more time on every area, and it works well in practice. So it takes a little bit longer. You can finish in less than a year and a half, but it's just that focus on a certain section of the knowledge helps you really get a grip on it, and it translates to success. But used to translate to success in the PCE exam, but also in practice, because you spend so much time, let's say, on investments. You just do investments for 8 weeks, And it really, it sinks in over that 8-week period, and that, seems to help students with what happens when they get in practice. I hope. What do you think, Noel? Do you think it worked?
It helped me entirely. If it wasn't like that, I not being facetious, I highly doubt it would have passed. If it wasn't for that, and it's one of the reasons why I actually chose Milpark about other universities. That was the main reason. And it's again nothing against other universities. I was told by now that CFO too that who's Milpark rather get a degree from an actual university, and I said, well, I actually want to pass this thing, so and I want to get this thing done, so that's why I chose Milpark. And it worked for me.
The other nice thing about the cycle structure is that you can start like we've got a number of intakes in the year, so you don't have to wait till the beginning of mid-year to start. And the other nice thing that I think fits in well with a working person's like realities is that you can skip a cycle without being penalized. Now, we don't recommend it. It's better to kind of just get in there and keep going until you're done, like now that. But sometimes life happens. We've got people who struggle with illnesses, death, those kind of things. And you can actually this next one, it's like, things are really hectic now. I'm going to give it a skip and just register for a cycle after that. So that works for us. I think that does work for somebody who works and studies at the same time. Patrick, I think earlier you said you still wanted to discuss there was something around the designations, I think, that you still wanted to mention.
Yes, it's the requirements, and also just to make students aware that the FBI's got different member categories. Specifically, there's one that's specifically aimed for students. That is now individuals that study full time. They don't have a job. They are a student. They on a student budget. And those are those individuals that we cater for. So there is that student membership, and it comes also with benefits. It's absolutely at no cost to the individual. Typically, what student membership?
Free membership.
Yes, it is free. Yeah. So if you're a student member of the FBI, it comes with certain benefits at no cost to you. There is a student community that is quite active and engaging, where students interact with other students. They pose questions, and they engage in terms of what the curriculum that they follow. And we have regular sessions as well with the students as well. And you also get access to the FBI Resource Center. And there's also an opportunity for you to be paired with a mentor and the career center.
Sorry, Patrick, can I stop you there? Sorry to interrupt you. What's in the resource center? Just tell the people in the session here what can they get from that resource center?
Yeah, in our resource center is practically everything that's got to do with financial planning and financial advice. There is the technical aspects that we also load on there. And you gain access to industry knowledge, stuff that FBI has written, where experts is also written that's on the FBI Resource Center. So as I said, you have access to that sort of information. What's also nice, and with the student community, as I mentioned, is the fact that you can engage with other students, but more importantly, I think for students, the big thing on their mind is obviously, will I find a job when I'm finishing with my career, when I'm finishing with my studies? At the FBI, you are allowed to upload your CV, and we have FBI corporate partners or our stakeholders. Our corporate partners are institutions, your large institutions like your Sanlams, your Momentums, your Liberty Lives, FNB, PPS, Alexander Forbes, etc. Now they partner with the FBI in terms of assisting, where FBI sort of like acts as a funnel from the university into the work life, and they specifically looking for people that study the specific qualification in financial planning, and it allows you then to, as I say, it's obviously like a fish pond, and they normally come to us and say, help us to grow in-house our our financial advisors in becoming CFP professionals or any or FSA or RFP professionals. So it allows you to move closer to a possible employer. And there's also tips for you, how to conduct yourself in an interview, how to prepare for an interview, certain life skills, and that is what the student community is all about. The next member category that we have is our candidate members, and those are people that yes.
Sorry, can I interrupt you again, Patrick? So so for a lot of our students will be in the candidate category. So the rest of you just listen to this. This probably applies to many of you.
Yes, yeah, okay. The candidate is people that are they are employed, and they either need to obtain, or they don't have maybe one of the qualifications or one of the qualifying criteria to become a professional member. Now that community, it can be maybe the experience component, it can be the education part of it, and it can also maybe be the exam or combination of those three that they do not comply with. What we have, that community is also a specific community where FPI, it is an online community of peers. And when you belong to just the candidate community, you also have access to the FPI Resources Center. We also can pair you up with a mentee, with a mentor, and that relates to the experience requirement. And I'll talk about that just a little bit just now. There's also the Career Center, is also absolutely free. In there, there's also advice. What we also deal with, assist the candidate members with. It is on, let's say if you got a specific question on whilst you're studying, and you can then post it on that community. There's also exam guidelines, how to tackle the FBI board exam, exam preparation workshops that we're running for the candidates. And I must say that community is quite vibrant. We have a new certification a manager that runs with that, so education manager that runs for that. That is also absolutely free, and I would encourage all the students that are currently enrolled for this program to apply for candidate membership with the FBI. It will just be very, very beneficial to you, not only whilst you're studying, but also when you come and sit for the FBI board exam, to be enrolled within as a candidate member. Yes.
Oh, sorry, Patrick. So, besides the corporate partners, you also have professional practices, right? Approved practices, I think is what you call them. Do they offer the same benefits, mentorship?
Yeah, but if you could just explain what a FBI approved professional practice is. This is independent firms that are not specifically tied to your big companies like your Old Mutuals and your Sanlams, etc. They are independent, and they are accredited. They have to meet a certain qualifying criteria. They also have to apply to become an FBI approved professional practice. They also go through a rigorous approval process before they can be branded as FBI approved professional practices. And I have to say that these are your top practices within South Africa. And by virtue of being an FBI approved professional practice, you are already a mentorship center. You are accredited FBI mentorship center. What the mentorship center actually tries to do is to make sure that we take people through a standardized and a structured program in order for them to obtain their experience. Which is obviously one of the requirements to become an FBI professional member. So being a candidate member, we can, like I said, put your information available to them and say this a person that wants to do the mentorship program with FBI, and obviously if they are happy to take you in, you can be mentored through one of our approved professional practices.
And Patrick, so to become a CFP practitioner, you need a qualification, you need to subscribe to the Code of Ethics. And how many years of experience do you need?
Yeah, for the CFP designation, sorry, there's just an echo there.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Okay. For the CFP
Sounds
designation,
better.
yeah, the minimum experience requirement there is 3 years that you have to have industry-related experience. Alternatively, you apply to do it via the mentorship route. You can reduce that 3 years into 1 year or to 1.5 years, just depending on your progress in the mentorship program. Now, what is the mentorship program all about? The mentorship program is, as I said, it is a structured program where we align you with a mentor. Your mentor must be a CFP professional in good standing with the FBI. And taking you through the process, you have to then comply with at least you have to comply with at least 4 out of the 6 components of financial planning. You have to show competency in at least 4 out of the 6 components of financial planning. What it is there's also the soft skill part of the mentorship as well. You know, how to make your first appointment, how to pick up the phone, how to engage with clients. You have to then also submit a portfolio of evidence. Okay. Either at the end of the mentorship, end of your mentorship, when your mentor feel that you are sufficiently qualified, then that portfolio of evidence needs to be submitted to the FBI for assessment. You can also then submit your portfolio of evidence, you know, on a quarterly basis or a biannual basis to the FBI to be assessed. And once the FBI I then see that you do meet the requirements for there's just a is it mine that's echoing? Sorry for that, man.
Yeah, apparently the attendees can't hear that, so yeah, I think you just keep going, Pat.
I must just keep going. Oh, okay, because I thought maybe it's a bit of a problem there. Yeah, so with the mentorship, you have to demonstrate competency in at least 4 out of the 6 components of financial planning. So whether it is when in your program or your a portfolio of evidence also have to demonstrate that you have followed or you've embedded in your advice process the six-step process of financial planning. But as I say, it reduces your experience requirement from 3 years to from the 3 years to, like I said, 1 year or to 1.5 years, just depending on your own progress. As again, I said, your mentor have to sign off on that portfolio of evidence that he is satisfied of your progress. When you look at the experience, yeah.
Sorry, Patrick. I just see our time is we're getting to end, and I still want to bring Nikki back in. But it just that's an amazing benefit for somebody is to actually, so you can join the FPI as a candidate or student member, get linked to an employer in a mentorship program, and cut down your experience requirement by 2 years or 1.5 years. It's a fantastic benefit. So definitely worth investigating.
Yeah, just on that mentorship as well. Even in your own company where you currently are employed, if there is a CFP professional in your company, that person can also act as your mentor.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Handy, I think we must bring Nikki back in. And while we get Nikki into the main stage, just something that's changing from next year is up to this point. So Noel, when you and I still did our PG Dips, we had to write the PCE exam, which is the professional competency exam. But the last PCE exams are running this year. And from next year, we're going to do a capstone course. And Nikki, why don't you tell us, so after you've completed your qualification, you still have to, instead of writing an extra exam, you have to do this capstone course. Nikki, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how that's going to work?
Yes, thank you, Harry. So just like everything else in financial planning, and I'm going to give my age away now. When I started in financial planning, it was Lehman Brothers was still in place, and the Twin Towers were still up. And after that, everything changed. The FICE legislation came in. We all had to get qualifications. All of those things changed. We're sitting now with things like psychology of financial planning that wasn't even a thought in someone's mind 20 years ago. So just like that is all changing, the way we assess financial planners also have to change to make sure that we keep track with what is happening in the industry. So for the last almost 15 years, FPI has used a case study as the basis of a case study in the form of an examination like you are used to it, to make sure that you are competent as a certified financial planner professional. However, in the last few years, the Financial Planning Standards Board, who is the licensing authority in the US that we are an affiliate of. So anywhere in the world, if you are a certified financial planner professional, you are part of the FPSB standard. And they have said that they want to include in the assessment process what they call a financial plan assessment. So what the FBI has had to do in the last few years in order to comply with the regulations that come from there is to completely change the way in which we are going to run the assessment process for a certified financial planner. Now, our feeling about it was, instead of taking this examination that's currently the PCE in the format that it is, which is 100 over 2 days, 100-mark case study in the form of an examination, let's not double up on the testing, because we don't want to make it more difficult for candidates. We still want to keep the standard, but we don't want to make the process too cumbersome. So from next year, you will complete, actually from this year onwards until the end of 2024, the process will change for candidates. But from this year onwards, we are intimately involved in the moderation of the integrated case studies at the universities themselves. So that means that we are acting as external moderators to make sure that the papers that you write in your final module at Milpark and at all the other universities are at a certain level, that it meets our requirements, and that you already meet your knowledge component tick there. So that is step one. So if you are doing your degree through Milpark or your postgraduate diploma through Milpark at this point in time, and you do the integrated case study this year or after, you will already meet the tick there. What will then happen is, when you approach the FBI and say, I want to become a certified financial planner, instead of having you sit for another examination, we are going to have you enroll in what we call a capstone course. Now, a capstone is an academic term for a summative course that sort of puts everything that you've learned together in a nice little packet and make it, make all the parts work together and come together. And what the capstone course is going to be is an 8 to 10 week, currently we're looking at about 9 weeks, 8 to 10 week course that you will have to complete in that time frame. It'll be practical. We are currently developing the material for that. We have got the best financial planning minds in the country who are helping us with this. I'm so excited. It is former Financial Planner of the Year winners. It is people that have been in financial planning for years and have written the books and have done the practical aspects of financial planning for us. So we are so excited. And what you'll learn in that 8 to 10 weeks is that how to take all the knowledge that you've gained in your studies at the university and in practice bring all of that together into the form of a financial plan. So they will literally take you through the ethics, through how do you deal with your clients in the psychology area, the human part. How do I determine what my client needs? How do I do the recommendations? How do I use the software? How do I develop the plan? How do I present the plan? And all of those type of things. So it's going to tell you a story. And by the end of that program, we are going to give you a case study with a client. It's going to look like what you can look at, what you get in practice. We'll maybe have an astute summary. We will have some policy information. We will have investment statements. We will have notes that you took during the meetings, and you will have to take all that info and develop a financial plan for the client, and you will have to submit that to the FBI for assessment. That will be assessed, and if you pass that, you would have met your assessment, so your examination outcome. You still have to get, unfortunately, we're not going to lower the pass rate. You're still going to have to get 60% on that case study to pass, and you will still have to meet your 3 years experience. But we're excited because you're going to get practical knowledge And by the end, you'll be able to put a proper financial plan together for a client. So that's the changes,
Nikki.
Harry.
Yeah, so it's a lot more practical instead of just writing an examination. No, what if you had to study now? How do you feel about doing the capstone course as opposed to the PCE exam?
I think it's amazing, because that's one thing. I remember sitting in front of a client my day one at the job. I'm like, well, I've got all this technical knowledge. What do I actually say to this person in the beginning? How do I end this thing off? What do I actually do now? So I think it's incredible. I think it probably took me a good 2 or so years to finally realize what I really want to do when I give a personal financial plan, and the type of planning I want to do. And it's not that it's very difficult, detailed work, but I think the sooner you get to it, it really shows your competency. So I think it's amazing, Nikki. It's way more. It's way harder to do that than to write an exam. So I'm not sure if I want to do that, Gerrie. I'm glad I'm in already.
So I'll also say, apparently we're going to be able to do the exam again, Neil, but without, like, they're not going to take away our designation if we fail. So, maybe that's something to do.
We have decided to approach it in a different manner. So we are going to make it available to our existing members for CPD purposes, and you will be able to submit your plan to us for assessment, but we won't grade you because we're so scared that many of our members will not make it. So we're not going
could be a good refresher, especially for those CPD points. I want to make 2 comments here. So the one thing is just when I started off in practice, I walked in and my boss at the time really impressed me, because we sat with a software program and we looked at something and we just fed the information in and it gives you a result. And he said, something wrong here. There's something like the capital gains tax, I think it was. It just doesn't look right. And I'm like, software does the job for you. And he was right. When we got into it, there was something that was wrong, either in the setup or the way we did it. And to me, that's the 2 sides of financial planning. Is the qualification gives you that technical knowledge, it gives you that feel for what's wrong, what it's supposed to be, and what's not. Like what he did in that instance. And then there's this practical component that I think the capstone course is a very, very nice introduction and a nice efficient, just like putting things together and giving. Financial planners is you walk out into the field and you're like, yes, but how am I supposed to do the financial planning? And this is a very nice, it's going to give you a very nice picture of what good financial planning is going to be like in practice. I also want to just address, there's a question from Avil about the distance learning online, the model that we follow at Milpark. So he asked, does it mean that it will be self-learning or the video recordings explaining the content topics? And I think it's important here it's not classes that takes you to the content. It's primarily distance education. But we've got the things that we do is we do have live interventions where we cover certain sections of the content. And then we also supplement that by a tutor forum, which works nice. The tutor is somebody that monitors the questions on the tutor forum. They actually, most of them work over weekends as well. So if you study, like for most of you, you'll be studying after hours or on a Saturday evening or something, and you've got a question, you can immediately post that into the chat and they will then get back to you and respond to that. And we got this, so you shouldn't expect it to be like a normal class at school where somebody takes you through the content. You've got to work through that on your own. But I think it's part of your skill of developing as a financial planner to be able to master content without somebody leading you through it and leading you by the nose. You've got to develop that independence. And then I see we're into the last minute. I almost think somebody was busy making a comment. I may have spoken over you. One of my fellow panel members. Was there anybody who wanted to say something? Okay. Then I would like Noel to just end off for us and just tell students what would his best advice be in terms of being successful at your studies and also becoming a successful financial planner. And maybe we can end of the session in that way.
Sure, thanks. I think the biggest thing that keeps me, I think that also differentiates me from what other people do, is that we have a unrelenting, unwavering commitment to doing the best thing for the client and only the client. So regardless of what happens to us, if it ends up becoming a client that comes on board or not, it doesn't matter. I think that's where Patrick's thing of ethics is. This allows you to do the best for the client. That's it. And I think that's where the capstone course will be amazing. So if you, difficult, Gerrie. So to end, I actually was thinking about this before the time. If I wasn't even going into the industry, I'd still do this, to be honest. I've had a whole bunch of businessmen come to me to ask about doing CFP, the postgrad and CFP, because the wealth of knowledge is incredible. When I first looked at the framework, I thought this is everything that I actually wanted to know about everything. So if you're going to the industry or not, it doesn't matter. So if you're wanting to go into the industry, it's a no-brainer to do it. Like Francois, I can't remember his name, surname Nikki, from Propulsion. I use his quote to say that the CFP is going to be a ticket to the game sometime soon. And I believe that. The more the industry is professionalizing, I think it is. If you want to operate in the space, you're going to have your CFP. And I think lastly, I always tell people, if I could do it, I'm a very normal, I'm really not intelligent. I made the joke just that my wife will vouch for that too. I'm just a normal guy, just want to do the best thing. Yeah. And if I could and get through my postgrad and get CFP, anyone really can.
Thank you very much. Thank you, fellow panel members. Thank you, members of the audience, for joining us virtually. I hope it's been worth your while. And appreciate all of your time, and have a good evening, and stay safe, especially those of you in the Western Cape and those experiencing adverse weather conditions. I just hope you just take it easy, and thank you very much, and good evening to everyone.